Hello and welcome to the Weekend Sauce. My name is Corey.
And I'm Dom.
So today on the agenda, we're going to be talking about first, kind of a strange sort of controversy, I guess you could call it, from Cranium Apparel and their newest release for esports clothing. And then also talking, again, kind of about something a bit controversial, if you will, for Melee's exclusion from EVO this year.
That's right. Yeah.
Also then moving just into Destiny 2 Reckoning, so the kind of progression with Gambit and just developments associated with that. And if we have time, also just discussing how so earlier this week Hideo Kojima announced that Death Stranding is behind schedule and will possibly be delayed. So just talking about that. It's Friday the 8th today. We record on Fridays if you're listening on Saturday. So it's International Women's Day, so happy International Women's Day. Shout out to women. Also, today's my mom's birthday, so happy birthday, Mom. Hope you have a great day. And so, let's just get right into it in terms of, I guess this is especially relevant for an International Women's Day. Just to give a kind of a overview, right? So Cranium Apparel, which is a company that deals with esports clothing and apparel, so mainly I think like jerseys and kind of other sort of esport related apparel and clothing. So I don't want to say it's exclusively jerseys, but I imagine you can get t-shirts with logos on them, that sort of thing. They announced their
esports dress.
Esports dress. I have the tweet here, so I'm just going to read it out. It says, "Get ready, female gaming community. Esports dress now available. It's high time that we do something for the female gamers who receive so much backlash in the community. Stay strong. We respect you. Proudly supporting #women in esports." Right? And so if you look it up, basically it's a at least what seems to be a pretty tight fitting dress. I can't.
It looks like a cheerleading outfit. It doesn't look like.
That's a really good way to describe it. Actually, I was gonna say I don't know how short
I wouldn't
the
say it's
skirt
like that
is.
Provocative, right? It's not like it's like a V cut, right? You're not looking. For
it
looks like a kind of short dress, right?
Yeah, it's a. If
exactly a cheerleader.
If you did look it up, it's basically a cheerleader dress. I'm seeing that now actually. So the picture they attached it, it's the dress never seen before in esports. High quality polyester, skin friendly, gives a new identity to female gamers. It's $53.
Yeah. Besides the price tag, I feel like anyway. Continue. How did the community receive it?
Well, so we have a kind of a response tweet from Miss Shadowfax. It reads, "Were any females involved in the design/decision making of this?" And Cranium Apparel goes, "Unfortunately, no." Right? So it's
of course no, but they did ask females what their opinion was of the dress.
Yeah, well, it was really interesting to kind of see the sort of fallout type kind of stuff that they kind of went through after that, because they were saying like our next step for, the community will be flawless. We assure it'll take the community by support. We won't let you down. Right? I have tweets here. It says, specifically, due to a lot of criticism on our most recent addition to our store for female gamers, we want to ask all of you, what would you like to see in the future for our women's stores? Please drop your ideas below. The dress may or may not be there. I should mention at this point that the dress is available for purchase, so you can buy it. I don't think actually on there. Let me just pull it up here real quick. Actually, understandably, just as I'm waiting for this to load, understandably the reaction was pretty poor.
I think the reaction was blown way out of proportion. Like even with the tweet at hand, right? The initial tweet, as you said, it's high time we do something for the female gamers who receive so much backlash in the community, and even other statements that they had after they received their feedback from people who clearly did not like the dress. I'm going to be honest, I kind of agree, like, right, like it's a cheerleading outfit. It's kind of...
Yeah, more or less. I have it up here.
It's not the best, right? But I think they made an effort, and they're even still continuing trying to make an effort, right? I think that should count for something. I don't think we should just instantly bash the idea.
Yeah.
Especially if they said that they already went through their testing, and girls in the past have said that they liked it. Not to mention... Esport dresses are not something new. This is not the first esport dress that's ever been created, right? Like, there's a cosplay player in the Street Fighter community, right? She wears a whole bunch of esport dresses, right? Custom made for her. I mean, I'm not saying that she represents all of the female gaming community, right? But this is nothing new, and I feel like let's do something constructive, okay? We don't like the dress, okay? They've already said that send us feedback. Okay, that's it. It should be done at this point. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be something that people are being like, how could you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting too invested in it, but at the end of the day, I guess I'm a guy too, right? Who knows? Maybe I'm also wrong.
Yeah, so for me, I do think their kind of response made sense, instead of like kind of pushing back or just, sticking to their guns, be like, this is what we're doing. They said like, we'll take feedback, we'll do our best. I know their most recent tweet that they have here is, it says new announcement in a few days, turn on notifications. Although I think that was for something else. But anyway, for me, I feel like this, I can't really say if it's like an overt issue or not. It's more just like, I gotta wonder how this kind of came to pass, right? I feel like the identity of like the girl gamer is still very skewed, even though it still exists, right? So like when you say like girl gamer, and picture that being spelled as GRRL, right? You have like a scene girl type looking person, with maybe like different colored hair, or sorry, bright colored hair, like possibly gaming related tattoos. There's one picture that kind of comes to mind where it's like the girl who's like at least trying to look seductive while she's biting like the cable for a controller.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, why are you doing that? What is this? And so I feel like that kind of plays into it, right? Because you have like girl gamers, right? Like gamer girls raw, that whole stereotype, if you will. And then you just have girls who just play video games. They're just normal people.
The real ones.
Yeah, they're just normal people who just like playing video games, right? And I feel like those people are probably in the majority, at least compared to girl gamers, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
So I don't know. I just feel like it kind of goes back to like last week when we were talking about THQ and 8chan. It's almost as if like companies continuously seem to impress me in how they can mess up.
I don't think they messed up though. I think it's just Twitter going to the next level of just being here. Look. Here's a great example I could use. Okay. We see this ugly shirt, right? And let's say they have this ugly shirt.
Okay.
And it's just like, I'll use myself as an example. This is in support of black people, right? Let's say it was not actually being racist. It was just a bad shirt. Okay. It was just a stick man or something, right? I would just be like, what does this have to do with black people? I don't want to buy it. That's it. If you don't like something, you don't buy it. The $53, you don't have to buy the dress. Okay, besides their business practice, right? Again, the message was good because they want to support them, and even after they tried to repair, it's just there's all this hate out of nowhere from Twitter.
Yeah.
And I hope it blows over, and I know it's very strongly opinionated what I'm saying. It's just, I just really detest when people try to force their own views in this light. It's awful because they're trying to change. So why are you still giving them shit?
Yeah. The thing about Twitter, I definitely agree that like Twitter is very much like a hot pot for just over exaggeration and like just kind of nonsense when it comes to interaction, especially with companies and when they do mess up, right? Like for me, the main kind of thing to laugh about for this was, they say like we're doing something for women esports gamers who are like often, I don't remember the exact word, but like disrespected or whatever. And then it's like, to do so, we made you like a cheerleader outfit, right?
That's true. They made sexualized.
Yeah. So it's like, I think maybe in this case, the intention was good. The execution was bad though, right? Like it wasn't horrible. And again, like you said, they're trying to amend what they've done. They're trying to get feedback on what female gamers and female gamers within esports actually want. Like I remember going through the thread of the tweet, there were girls who were saying like, this isn't what we want. We don't want these dresses. We want, female cut or female style t-shirts. I think one girl said crop tops or kind of like smaller.
She wants a crop top?
I don't know. Again, this is just one person.
Oh,
this is just in the thread, right? Like of just individual users saying, what they could have done instead. I think one girl, there was a few girls were saying like more hoodies or more sweaters in like in female sizings, right, as opposed to male sizings, because I guess there was kind of like or I won't say an issue, but like they would have had to buy like a men's small when it would have been, would have been better to have actual female sizes to actually fit them better. So I feel like it's just a mishap on their part. And again, like I struggle to imagine companies kind of missing the point. They didn't miss it like super hard, right? It's not like THQ where they kind of totally blew it and like everyone was kind of going after them. I mean, like even for THQ, Twitter was saying like, oh, I guess THQ supports pedophilia now, and it's like, well, I mean, they that's kind of an unreasonable thing to think of, or kind of you're stepping a bit there. Obviously they messed up, and obviously they are engaging with sites that involve or have involved those sorts of things, but like obviously in this case it's a bit less extreme, right? It's just that they're kind of perpetuating, if you will, this kind of notion of female girl gamers. Yeah, the stereotype of like girl gamers. And I mean there's certainly an argument to be made as well for kind of the consistent kind of sexualization of women and their clothing and everything, right? I'm not super familiar with that myself. For me, I just kind of know it exists. Specifics elude me to a certain extent, especially when it comes to sporting. And I mean, whether or not you consider esports as an actual sport. I mean, they have jerseys and stuff, so at least the apparel is similar. So I don't know. I just feel like it almost feels like that they should have just done a bit more research. Really, what I found was funny was like, that you have the tweet where it's like, were any women involved in the creation of this?
No.
And it's like, unfortunately, no. It's like, well, like that probably should have set you off when you were like in the design studio doing that, where it's like you got a bunch of dudes being like, this is what women want. This is what we're gonna put out for girls.
It wasn't like that way again, right? Like they had feedback. They got feedback, right? There should always, especially if you're creating apparel for women, right? I agree 100% that there should be someone on the team that actually is a woman if you're making clothing for women, right? It doesn't make sense.
You probably shouldn't assume what the other gender really wants in this case, right?
They just need to update what their practices are to get data.
Mm-hmm.
Be
I guess
a woman or two.
I guess really you could say they should just do better next time.
Yeah,
right?
Well, it's a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I'm not too happy with how people received their apologies, right? It's just like the message was good. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm done.
One other thing I was actually going to mention, this I don't know if it's exactly kind of in comparison, especially with the kind of gendered aspect of this whole debacle, but the dress is red and black. Why is everything that's gamer related red and black? Why is that still a thing?
Isn't that just Cranium Apparel's like just logo?
No, I mean just in general. Like you think of gamer stuff, you probably think of either like.
I don't think so. Like
no?
What?
Well, I know I've seen tons of mouses, like especially Logitech mouses, where they're red and black.
Those are like black and blue.
No,
Colorscape.
I'm talking like not like neon red and black, like excuse me, kind of more, almost more like muted. Like here, I'm literally gonna look up gamer. Oh, it's just that shit. I looked up.
Talking about like the RAT, like the RAD or anything, like I don't know.
Stuff like that, yeah. You can I'll
like what, like MSI, like how it's just like
stuff like
black
this,
and red, like gamer chairs.
Yeah, like gamer chairs and like mouses and stuff like. You know what I mean? Like, why is it always black and red?
I don't think it's always black and red. I think I'm gonna disagree on that one. I think that it's always black. Most of the time, it's black.
Yeah.
Right. Why that is, I don't know. It just looks sleek. It looks nice, right? I don't want a lime green mouse.
Unless you're into Razer, I guess.
But like, I think it's always black and an accent color, right? That they always go with, whether that be blue, green, right, red, as you're saying before. But I don't know. I'll keep my eyes out. I'll keep it.
Maybe that's just me. I totally
red and black.
I totally respect that. Might just be me that's seen. It's funny. I looked up gamer gear on Google Images, and it's the guy from that one H3H3 video from way back.
Okay.
The guy that looks like a friend of ours. So that's funny. I thought that was neat. But yeah, I don't know. Again, kind of maybe for their further exploits within female apparel for esports, they can do better. I guess that's what we'll end off on, right? And hopefully Twitter doesn't kind of attack them too much this time. But yeah, I mean, in any case, we have Melee not being at EVO for the first time. I think the last time was in 2013, like 5 years ago, or 6 years ago now. I think so, yeah, if I'm remembering correctly. Which, again, I admit I might have my specifics a bit wrong.
It could have been. I thought it was like there for like the last 17 years, but I don't know. Maybe
Well, I mean, in any case, it's not anymore, or at least for this year. So, what do you think about that? I know, I'm not super into the kind of Smash competitive scene. It's just not something I've really found to be super interesting. When it comes to fighting games, I definitely prefer watching pro level or competitive level, like classic fighting games, so like 2D. Smash just doesn't do it for me in that case. But what do you think in here?
So I'm thinking this is huge. Melee has always been like a huge part of Evo history.
Yeah.
Right? Leffen's the last one to win, Hungry Box, previous winners, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of history in the FGC when it comes to Smash.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, some people in the FGC won't say that Smash is a part of them, right? I know there's a famous. He used to be sponsored by Liquid. His name was Salem, right?
Yeah,
he was saying how
he only lost that sponsorship.
After he realized
Wasn't it
that
like
Melee was not in the lineup, he said, "Finally."
Well, wasn't it like I think it was like a week or so ago, right? Like
yes.
it was pretty recent. Yeah,
it was pretty recent.
I remember reading about that.
So yeah, he brought up that finally he was content that there's no more Melee.
Yeah.
Right. I personally, I'm not a huge fan of Melee. Right.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the time I encounter a fan of Melee, they insist that their game is the best thing in the world, and that's completely fine, right?
Yeah.
It's not for me. I don't
Nope.
think it's the best
No.
thing in the world. I do enjoy Smash titles. I just don't think personally that Melee is that great.
Yeah.
Come attack me. It's fine. I don't really care that much.
See, here's the thing for me, right? And I definitely agree with that. I've often found that the reverence that Melee has is a bit silly and unfounded, right? A lot of the stuff that makes Melee, or at least seemingly kind of elevates Melee into this kind of grand sort of status over Brawl and all the other Smashes, is a lot of like the mechanics, which really exist almost by accident.
Yes, there are
right?
a lot of bugs.
Yeah. So for me, I don't think just because those things exist by accident in Melee that we should hold on to Melee as like the pinnacle of Smash gameplay, right? I mean, Melee has to be almost 2 decades old by this point.
I think it's 18 years old.
Yeah. So, think about it even in comparison to the other Evo titles, right? I took a look just yesterday of what's going to be there, right? We don't have Street Fighter 2 still at Evo. We have the new Street Fighter. We have Street Fighter 5 Arcade.
The best Street Fighter is like Street Fighter 3 Alpha. That's what people say is the best Street Fighter.
Yeah, but
we're not playing
we're
Street
not
Fighter
playing
3
Street Fighter
Alpha.
3. We're not playing Mortal Kombat, 9 or 10. It's going to be 11.
And
right?
One of the famous Smash Melee players, right, Armada, he
Yep.
brought up the stance that where he connects everybody to like as if we're sheep, right? Because we just go on to the next game and we don't actually say what is the best game, which I think is very poor logic.
That is poor logic.
Right? It's more. It's not that people just go where the money is, right? I mean, I guess that's true, right? Like people sponsor the games, like they pay for the games to go to Evo, but at the same time, there's a whole bunch of games that are not, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
We'll talk about the list that's actually on Evo a bit later, but I feel like that's just such a poor statement that you could ever make.
Well, if you're going to call consumers sheep, you have to have like a founded reason to do so, right? You can't just be like, oh, you guys are all sheep. You're just following the herd, whatever. And yeah, no, that reason I didn't know he had said that. And now that I hear it, it makes no sense.
It just comes back, and you know what he said after? He's just like, well, that's why Melee players are, he's putting themselves on a pedestal, right? Comparing us, everybody else, to sheep because we follow in line with the next game, even though the next game might not be as good, right? It might have new mechanics. It's a completely different game, right? People like fresh, new stuff.
Yeah.
We're sorry we don't want to let the true fungi grow onto our game for 18 years, but anyway.
Well, it's like you got to think I'll use Mortal Kombat as an example because that's kind of the one that I'm fairly familiar with, just in terms of fighting games in general. We have the inclusion of X-ray abilities and whatnot, right? That's a whole new thing for Mortal Kombat, which came in Mortal Kombat 9, if I'm remembering correctly, right? Imagine if you're, someone who is a diehard fan of, a previous game from the Mortal Kombat series, and you have this kind of brand new mechanic, and you're like, well, I mean, that looks cool, I guess, but everything in this past game is still amazing, and it's still the best Mortal Kombat, right? At that point, it's just like you're almost gimping yourself. Like you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot to hold on to this almost like unfounded appreciation for an older game, or again going back to like just the reverence of these older games, right? Like, of course, Melee is a fun game. Of course, it's enjoyable. You know, I was a kid and growing up, and you know, even very occasionally, kind of in the past few years, you know, playing Melee has been great, right? But I'm not gonna like sit there and constantly demand that like we play Melee when we're gonna play Smash, right? Like, you know, when you and I get together with people, we play Smash Ultimate because that's the new one. It has the most characters, right?
It could host more people, right? It's just more.
It's fun, you know what I mean? And it's you know, also the argument can be brought up, you know, GameCubes aren't in production anymore.
That's another huge thing. You also need to find certain TVs that work with GameCubes, right?
You want to have like a CRT or something, right? Like it's just all these kind of constraints that you have to go through to play Melee, and it's, again, you know, at this point it's a bit silly that people keep holding on to it. It's almost like, move on, right? Like just you know, it's acceptable that you can think Melee is the best Smash. I'm not going to say that's kind of unfounded, or even that I would ultimately disagree. I haven't really thought about it too much myself, but I accept that opinion. But kind of forcing other people to play and hold on to Melee is just, it makes no sense. And then even going further to call people who move on from Melee like sheep or whatever have you, that just, again, that makes no sense. It's just rude at that point, right? I don't know. It's just silly to me, man.
So anyway, we can focus on the list at hand.
The actual roster.
I'm gonna ask you a question, actually.
Go. Yeah.
So we have BlazBlue Cross Tag, Dragon Ball Fighters. These are two games, Bandai Namco.
Yeah.
Pretty popular.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as much for BlazBlue when it comes to fighters. Mortal Kombat 11, Samurai Showdown, Soul Calibur 6, Street Fighter 5, Smash Bros Ultimate, Tekken 7, Under Night in Birth.
Yeah.
All right. So the two that jump out that are surprising are Under Night in Birth and Samurai Showdown. Samurai Showdown being complete new title, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has, at least to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but I just think it's a complete new title. I have never heard of it before.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of gripes came up, because people are just like, what is this game? It looks like shit.
Yeah. So
do you think it's acceptable to have new titles at EVO? Do you think that this is something that should be done? Right? Like, no one has Mortal Kombat 11, but is here. Like, I know everybody wants to play Mortal Kombat 11. I want to play Mortal Kombat 11. I want to see it at the highest level, right? I'm just using that as an example. Like, what should EVO have done?
So, it's interesting for Samurai Showdown. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, so it's by SNK, the guys who do King of Fighters and the sort. And Samurai Showdown has its roots within that kind of SNK arcade era, right? So, like, I have it right here. SNK, or Samurai Showdown, is a fighting game series by SNK, and it was released. First release was in July 7th, 1993, right? So,
okay, so I was wrong.
It has historical precedent, right? Which for me at least justifies its inclusion. Like, I can see why they're gonna have it in the lineup. Whether or not it's a good game, we can't say. It's not out yet, but for me at least, that makes sense as to why they're bringing it in. Whether or not it lasts, I mean, who knows, right? Like, it's gonna be totally new, and it's based off a game from 1993, right? I know King of Fighters, when they did their big kind of a revival of their series, I believe it was in 2018 or 2017. I don't think it ended up being extremely popular, right? Like, I was never a King of Fighters guy, but even looking at it, I just said, I'm like,
King of Fighters is pretty lit.
Yeah, I just said to myself, I'm probably going to skip this one. And, they've been doing kind of other things with the franchise. I know they had the all-female kind of King of Fighters game that just came out recently. And, SNK has always been a company, known for their arcade games and everything like that. So, yeah, I guess that's why they decided to put it in.
And then here's another thing I have to ask you, right? So for Under Night in Birth, this is an old game.
Yeah.
It's definitely no stranger to the block. And it was kind of dying out. It was very hard to find people online, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now that its inclusion in EVO, a whole bunch of, I'm going to say it, Twitter warriors, right, have risen up. And they're not happy. Why are they not happy? They're not happy because people are playing their game. Because now people are only playing their game because of EVO. So they're unhappy that there's new players actually giving life to their game. How is that possible?
No, I get that. For sure, I get that. So, I'm going to get conceptual on you here, and you're going to have to bear with me, but so with any kind of community, especially digital or online communities, right? When you're small and when you're niche, right? And you're very, communal and connected, right?
Okay.
It's got that familiarity. It's got that enjoyment that you can get from, going to your online buddy and be like, hey man, you want to rip some
Under Night
just real quick, and it's like, yeah man, let's go. And then when you get traction, you have all these kind of newbies and people jumping on for the hype. It's like, oh, they're not real players. I've been here since the beginning. I'm an OG, right?
I'm a day one,
right? Like an example you might resonate with, because I know we've spoken about this kind of in the past, but for League, right?
Yeah,
You and I started League back in like season 2, right? Or at least I started in season 2.
Yeah, season 2.
Yeah, so you and I could gripe all day about how things were different in season 2, and you got these new guys coming in where everything's all refined, and I remember you used to have to, all the runes were different. The Journal of Justice was a thing. I remember when there was actually summoners in League, yada yada, right? So that's just how it is.
I mean,
right?
we could, but do we?
We
no.
don't. No. But then again, this is the internet, right? So everything's taken
That's
up
true.
to 11. So
That's true.
You probably have these guys who would have like these almost like dedicated clubs where they just play together, right? And then now you have all these new people. It's like, well, they're gonna ruin our fun. They're gonna
bringing these shitters in here.
Basically,
it's like,
yeah.
Come on,
That's basically what it comes down to.
Let them in. If anybody is new and they ask me, hey, let's play some League of Legends. I mean, League is not like my game right now, but I mean, like, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Mhm.
I would have patience when they're probably not going to be as adept at the game as I am, right? It's just you want them to have fun. That's what the whole thing. It's always nice to have new people in any community. At least that's how I feel. Giving life to game is always nice.
Yeah, a lot of people would disagree with that, where they would say that.
I could understand it. I guess I could kind of see it.
They would say quality of your audience is more important than quantity, because then quantity can affect kind of the feedback and what the developers do.
Does quantity not lead to like quality, like at the end, right? Like at first it's going to be bad, but later on.
Well, so like picture that you have a game where you have a really tight knit kind of hardcore audience, and then you make it big, right? And you start getting tons and tons and tons of new fans and new players who are casual, right? So then they start providing feedback that's only based on their experience as a casual player, which the argument is made then that feedback would end up ruining the game for these hardcore players, because then the company or the developers would be kind of catering to these casual players.
I feel like that happens less so often though when it comes to fighting games.
Yeah, I can't really comment on the like legitimacy of this type of thing, because it's on a case by case basis, and I don't really agree either way with either side, right? Like, obviously making it big is really nice for sure, but then I can definitely imagine kind of scenarios where you have this like really kind of tight, like I said, tight knit
I get what you're saying, right? But at the end of the day, that community will, especially with Under Night, that community will eventually die out, right?
Yeah.
Things change, people's lives go on. Mm-hmm. You get jobs, you get significant others, right? Maybe you get a kid. You're just not going to have the same amount of time, right? Yes, this is my own personal opinion, and I'm saying that this is like, straight fact or not. But at the end of the day, new life is good for the game, because if I want to play Under Night, let's say beforehand, I've never played Under Night, I would get mucked up in 2 seconds, and I would not want to go back if I found a game. That's another thing. If I found a game, it's extremely discouraging to go into a game where everybody is just mucking you up, completely destroying you. And that's why I like whenever new life's breathed into any game, right? It happens with all games, even Apex, right?
Yeah.
When it first started, I'm bad at the game. I was able to get 9 kills a game. Now I'll be lucky if I get 3 or 4.
Wait, so you're saying the opposite happened then? Like you were?
No, I'm just saying since there's a whole bunch of people that were playing Apex in the beginning, right? I don't think it doesn't have the same streaming numbers as it did when it was first released.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
It doesn't have. I'm assuming it also doesn't have the same population. I'm not saying that it's not growing.
Well,
I think it is still growing.
I think they did reach 50 million the other day.
So but is it concurrent players, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the other thing. But I just feel like when veterans get into the game, sometimes when you have a close-knit community, or when you're up against people that are always the same, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you're not able to put in as much time as they are, right? So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I feel like the argument can be made either way. Again, I'm not really attached to either kind of side of consideration, if you will. I feel like quantity, adding more fans and adding more audience and a larger audience, really can just just at a very practical level provides more revenue, provides more opportunities to improve and grow the game. But I do also think that especially for video games, making sure that your core audience is satisfied is very important, right? Just for commercial reasons, for kind of cultural reasons, if you want your game to be received well, it just makes sense, right? Like deviating too much from what players expect can kind of be disastrous in certain cases. So I feel like making sure that you satisfy both ends is very important. Speaking of which, unless you had anything else you wanted to add there?
No, I didn't have anything else to say about it, to be honest.
Destiny 2 and Destiny 2 Reckoning, so to speak, with the season of the Drifter. So do you know anything about kind of how their whole roadmap has been working thus far?
No.
So
Let me in.
it's seasons, if you will, not dissimilar to like For Honor or Rainbow Six, kind of where they have these thematic content drops in relation to whatever kind of the title is. So we had the Black Armory a little while back, which provided a new thing to do in relation to that whole kind of experience. And there's new exotics and everything that you had to build towards, that sort of thing. And so Reckoning comes within the season of the Drifter. Now the Drifter, of course, is the main NPC kind of guy involved with Gambit, and I love me some Gambit. I love Gambit. It's I feel like Gambit is probably one of the best inclusions for Destiny as a franchise. I gotta wonder what they're gonna be doing with it into the future for Destiny 3 and everything, just because it's been really good. Do you ever get around to playing into Gambit, or?
I did not get around to playing.
Yeah. Okay. I'll explain it to you real quick then. So, Gambit is a PvE/PvP type game mode. It kind of mixes a bit of both. So, you're launched into your map, as it were, and you're fighting a certain kind of enemy. So it could be Vex, or it could be the Fallen, or anything like that. And when you kill an enemy, they drop these little motes, these little tokens. And so you pick up the tokens, and you can run to the center of the map where there's this big kind of tube-looking thing, and you can deposit your motes. And at 5, 10, or 15 motes, you send a blocker to the other side, because on the other side of kind of the game or the match, you're against another enemy team who's trying to do the same thing. So you have to get up to, I believe it's, if I'm remembering correctly, 75 motes, and then a boss spawns, kill the boss, and you win the round. Do that twice, you win the game. Right?
Okay, yeah.
At certain points, there's a portal that gets opened up, and you can invade the enemy team to go kill them. When you die, you lose your tokens, so kind of the emphasis is on making sure that whoever's going over can actually kill people. Maybe they have a good exotic, or they're just really good at the game. It's very, I won't say it's focused on communication, but you need to know what you're doing, right? Like, I will never forget the kind of lunacy that I saw playing Gambit with guys who would like pick up 2 motes and then just go hand in. It's like, why? That does nothing, right?
Well, I'm helping the team. What you
No, you're not, because
points,
you can kill you can kill 3 tiny enemies, right? You can kill 3 dredges or something, get 5 motes, and then send a blocker, or save up for 10. Saving up for 10 is like more or less the best option, because losing your motes at 15 is just the worst thing ever. I'll tell you right now, it just sucks. So going for 10 is really easy to do. You can just get 10, run to the center, send a medium blocker, go back, keep doing that. It's clockwork. You just kind of keep going. You just make sure that you're paying attention to what you're doing. You're seeing how many motes your allies have, If you have like 2 motes and then your ally has 8 and you kill 2 enemies, it's probably in your best interest to give him the motes instead of you. But again, people mess up. And so Gambit kind of turned it, or got added on to Gambit Prime. Gambit Prime functions a bit differently, where it's kind of just like you just get 100 motes. It's very kind of straightforward. It's not as intensive, or I won't say it's not as intensive, but it's not as like there's not as much to do compared to Gambit. It's a bit more difficult just because there's like you have to focus on the one thing while all the enemies and everything are coming after you, and the bosses and invasions and everything. And now we have Reckoning, which is kind of the extension of that. So really, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on kind of where Destiny 2 has gone, because of course, I believe it's about a month ago now, or a month and a bit, Bungie rather, split off from Activision, right? And that split came at somewhat of a surprise, but also to kind of a lot of fanfare, because now it was like Bungie can just do what they want, right? They don't have a big brother publisher that's telling them what to do and telling them to only focus on the money and stuff, right? Because I know for Destiny 2 especially, one of the things at launch, that one of the issues at launch was there was, all these microtransactions and kind of money-making practices that, just are rife throughout the video game industry. But I want to hear what you, at least kind of general thoughts on Destiny 2.
On Gambit Prime?
Well, yeah, I mean, Gambit and Gambit Prime, you mentioned you haven't played it, so.
Like, honestly, I feel like I have to wait a little bit longer, at least to see what... I haven't actually seen the roadmap for Destiny 2, right? Ever since after the split.
After the split?
The split, right? So, like, all I can do is just hope that they listen to the community as well as they did in Destiny 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you're saying in the beginning, when it came to Destiny 2, it was running rampant with microtransactions. There was a lot of problems that they had in the past that they already finished with Destiny 1 that they just brought back for no reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So I don't know if my faith is restored in Bungie. You would be better to tell me, right? I have not actually been following what's going on with Destiny 2.
Yeah, so again, I'm kind of biased because I do like Gambit a lot. I know one of the things that they've kind of gotten in hot water, at least for recently, is that they haven't really mentioned that they're planning on doing anything in or related to trials from Destiny 1. To put
Wait, sorry, I just wanted to cut you off. Since we're talking about PvP and Gambit, I know Gambit has PvP elements where you have to go to the other world, right?
Yeah.
And you have to kill
you
people, and you
them.
could take their motes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or at least deny them. I don't think you could take them.
No, yeah, it's denial, yeah.
So you deny them, right? How is the balance in PvP for Destiny 2? Last I heard, it was pretty atrocious.
It's very strange. So when they I was playing a lot of Destiny when they did kind of a return to the Thunderlord exotic, and just it's just I mean, with exotics in Destiny 2, it's very specific in which ones are like really good and which ones are kind of okay and which ones just suck. Multiplayer, you always had guys using kind of the same weapons, right? Ace of Spades, Thunderlord is really popular. There was another hand cannon that I can't remember the name of right now, but all these kind of weapons and guns that are like almost specifically made to use for PvP compared to PvE. That kind of translates over to Gambit. The way it works in Gambit is, you jump through the portal and you're dropped kind of away from the enemies, so you have to run up and then shoot them. So using something like Ace of Spades, which is a hand cannon, probably wouldn't work out because you have to get close to use it. But using like the Thunderlord always worked. Like that's what I would use in Gambit when I would go invade. I just pull my Thunderlord and like from at least like 50 feet away or something, I'd just be like mowing down guys because the Thunderlord is just so good, right? It's just so good at killing anything. So I would imagine that's still the case. I don't know if it's been tuned up or anything.
Does that mean that everybody just has a Thunderlord? Sorry, does that mean that everybody just has a Thunderlord?
Well, the Thunderlord is super easy to get.
Right? So like, I don't know. I feel like back in my day, everybody just had the same guns, right, as you're saying.
Yeah.
And PvP was a mess.
Yeah, PvP, the thing...
I don't know how well it could work in Destiny. I did like Trials, though.
Yeah, Trials... Like, the thing about PvP for Destiny is, like, you kind of have to get into the groove of it and, like, understand what you're kind of going up against and what to expect, right? Like, I kind of refused to use shotguns for a long time because I'm like,
You don't just join in, slide with the shotgun.
I'm not gonna sink that low, right? And then like there was like quests and kind of stuff that I had to do in like that involved shotguns, and I was using them. Like shotguns are really really good in PvP because like you just run up to them and then you crouch slide right in front of them and kill them in one hit and just keep running, right? Like it's basically just like in a flash you get kills, right? So it's just stuff like that. I would play a lot of Warlock, and I was trying to make things work. I was very into, you would see a lot of Void Walkers. I was like, I'm gonna try do something else. I'm gonna try and be Stormcaller.
Hipster.
And it would go well enough, but not as well as like Void Walkers, or not even close to being as well as Titans, right? Titans with their Sentinel Shield, and then I started playing Titan, and I get into PvP with my Sentinel Shield, and the exotics and everything that make you, better to use your Sentinel Shield, and I would just run around and smack guys with my shield with no issue whatsoever. So I finally understood. My eyes were opened. I was like,
Well, that's the thing that like that's a core problem for Destiny, at least for me, right? I feel like most of the classes or builds are kind of hollow, right? And the reason they're hollow is because there's like usually one build that's just way better than the other two.
They're definitely very homogenous, right? Like it's I would never imagine somebody kind of well, obviously people can do what they want, but it's like there's always that like one build or like one kind of way to play that just works better, right? So
and there's not enough sorry to cut you off. There's not enough builds, right, in the
not
game
enough variance,
to really warrant you using something different. I mean, maybe once in a while if you're just feeling like mixing it up, but at the same time, it's not like it's a big difference when it comes to gameplay because a grenade's still a grenade. You're still doing the same thing with it. How it interacts with other people is different, right? It might home on to people, you know, it might leave a trail or something, right? But you're still using it like a normal grenade. I mean, you could do a little bit of fancy stuff with it. It doesn't change how you play the game in a big sense, right? Even the triple jump versus like the glide that Warlock has, I think.
Yeah, Warlock.
Does Warlock have a teleport?
They have both. So they're the Voidwalkers are the only ones that have a blink, which is why a lot of people play Voidwalker because they can only blink, right? Or like the their super move that came out with Destiny 2 Forsaken, which is the Nova or I can't remember what the name is, but it's not the one that just shoots out like a big black hole looking thing. It's the one where you start floating around and you can just explode, right? That one's really good because it's AoE. You can blink while you're doing it. So it's just super good, and that's why a lot of people use it, because especially compared to like the Stormcaller super that got added to Forsaken, like that one is basically useless in PvP, and I did not see it used a lot in PvE either. So it just kind of comes down to like, do you want to try and go against the grain and make it work, or do you just want to do what everybody else is doing, right? Like it's different for PvE because like PvE, like you can always kind of make things work. You know what I mean? Like
here's the thing. Here's where I think Bungie will be ascending for me in ranks. When they can make each class feel like super different, right? When they can make each class feel like you need them for, I don't know, a raid of some sort, right? That's when I'll be like, wow, this is a game next level. I'm not saying that Destiny is a bad game. Destiny 2 is a bad game.
It just takes it to the next step.
I think it's a fantastic game. I think it just takes it to the next level. And it's sad because I was kind of looking for that with Anthem, right?
Yeah, well,
but we all know how that turned out, right? There's a whole bunch of worms.
Did you see the thing about Anthem where it turns out that the weapons don't really matter in the end?
I've followed, unfortunately,
that was really
all of the Anthem news.
So real quick, just so that we can kind of provide context here. So the starting weapons that you get in Anthem, this one guy was doing a bunch of tests in terms of weapons and stuff, and he found out that compared to a lot of the legendaries and stuff that he had, that the starting assault rifle that you start off with was better, right? I think the difference was like maybe it would take 6 shots to kill something with the legendary. It took 4 with the starting weapon, right? Which is just so silly for a game like that, right? For a looter shooter, right?
Yeah.
It just means that their algorithms are all out of whack, and like they didn't bother to code in like a health, like a static health on their bar on their enemies, right? So like
it just checks your item level versus the enemy, right? And it also has to do with like your weapon multiplier, right? So it checks your weapon. It says, oh look, this is like a low level weapon. This should require it's percentage based, right? So you'll be doing like it'll show you're doing like 204 damage, but you're really doing like 1/4 of his health, right? Yeah. Versus if you had the sniper or whatever, you're going to be doing probably damage in the thousands, of course, and you're not doing anything. You're not doing any damage.
Yeah.
So there's something wrong when it comes to the programming in the game.
Yeah, they just screwed up basically. And I mean, this is just another thing on the kind of the continuous horrible exploits of Anthem and BioWare and EA, which is it's just silly, right? I keep saying that it's so silly, right?
The funny thing is, I don't know if you know, like the funny thing is, when he's doing the tests and when people are doing the tests about the weapon, they actually have to say, please don't ban me. This is not an exploit. Like, I'm trying to see what's going on here.
Well, I saw another thing, too, where a guy was kind of grinding out in a very specific way, into a way that was, like, apparently, they said, like, you can't do that, and they banned him for it.
Yeah,
he got banned from Anthem.
I think he said there's a couple things he could have got banned for, but what it ended up being was there was a glitch with, what's like the mage javelin called again?
Having the foggiest.
Oh, my God. Anyway, the one that could fly the longest has the shield. Okay, you guys know what I'm talking about. When it comes to that javelin, there was an exploit that was in beta where you could just keep on using its ultimate over and over and over again, right? So for one day, this streamer or this YouTube personality, he just kept on using it, right, to kill titans, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he just did it for one day, right? Everybody was doing it because they're like, this is the fastest way that you could get things done. And then EA says, you broke the terms of service, you're banned. This is an exploit, you're ruining the community. You're ruining the community.
Yeah.
But like, how are you ruining the community? Anyway, that's a completely different thing.
That's a whole other thing, which
I don't want to get into
we
that.
can get into.
I don't want to get into that.
So I think we got some time here. So, well, I'll finish up real quick just for Destiny. You're mentioning the roadmap. So right now we're in the season of the Drifter, which is from March to May. Just reading kind of what it says. We got Gambit and private matches and new maps, exotic quests, events, lore and triumphs. The actual, like, when you buy the annual pass, you get some weapons and gear, more exotic quests, a new Gambit experience, right? Bounties from Xur, and then more weekly quests. The next season that we have actually doesn't have a name. It's just Season of the Blank, and the picture that's associated with it is a robot with a katana, which
looks like Anthem's roadmap.
Neat.
Blank.
Yeah, it says Season of the Blank. It's just a white bar. It's from June to August. So similarly, in terms of free stuff, more exotic quests, triumphs, and lore books. They have something called the Solstice of Heroes, which will be neat. Vanity rewards, rank awards, Iron Banner will be back as well, of course. When you buy it, so there's only it's what they've shown is, so it says new weapons and gear, a new raid, new 6-player matchmade activity, new triumphs and lore books, and then 2 kind of cells that say redacted. So we really don't have a whole lot of info on what they're going to be.
Are you excited for anything?
I'm interested.
The new raid, always nice.
Yeah, new raid would be very nice for sure. This is kind of their way to tease out and hype stuff up. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for sure. Maybe we can kind of revisit that when the time occurs and see what it is that they've kind of come up with, and if the hype was worth it or not. We got a little bit of time here for just real quick for Death Stranding, right? So Hideo Kojima's new crazy IP.
It's not new. How many years has it been?
It's been so long. I am so finished with all the nonsense and hype that's associated with this. Cause
did he even have a release date?
No, I don't think so. Not that I can remember. Here's the thing. I love Hideo Kojima. He is my guy. I love Metal Gear Solid. Even some of the older stuff that he's done.
What about Metal Gear Survival, bro?
He didn't do that. I love even some of the older stuff that he's done. Right, I've taken a look at it, and he's just a really interesting guy because he very much embodies that kind of concept of that really weird out there artist type. He has, at least seems to have, all these crazy ideas that he struggles to implement properly, and that's kind of where Metal Gear Solid came from, and all the kind of subsequent games and everything, and the whole debacle that he had with Konami and then release, and now he's with Sony, and he's got Death Stranding, which is his new IP, as I mentioned, where he's basically got free reign to do whatever he wants, right? Sony's like, come with us and we'll let you do whatever it is you need to do. And so apparently what that's involved is, flying around the world, meeting different artists and developers. And I used to follow him on Twitter. The guy, so much of his Twitter content is just really cool stuff for sure.
Don't get me wrong.
He just goes around the world, eats amazing food, meets all these cool people, and sees the projects they're working on and stuff. But it's are you working on the game?
So what's happening?
Are you working on the game? When is it coming out? And we've had a few trailers and teasers and stuff here and there.
He's using it for inspiration, bro.
That's what you have to assume, right? He's going all across the world and learning. Or
I guess money, man. It
right?
isn't that good money.
And that's kind of created this this just almost it's a really abstract concept of hype, because we haven't seen any gameplay, right? I think there was a brief section.
There is no hype. The hype is dead.
Well, that's the thing. It's the hype comes from being a Kojima game, right? Again, I love the guy. He's great. He's had great ideas, and he's a really cool guy to wrap your head around, especially when it comes to video games specifically. But even though I'm into all that pretentious artsy stuff, at the end of the day, I gotta see the game. I gotta see the gameplay. What do you do? Answer me this, man. What do you do in Death Stranding?
No one knows what you do
What do you
except
do in
for
Death
him
Stranding?
and his team, I guess.
Yeah, and like the only kind of gameplay thing that we've seen or that we've kind of been able to to understand at this point is that you're playing a character that delivers stuff. The specifics haven't been revealed, of course, and like it just gets it always just gets weirder, right? Like the first announcement, you got Guillermo. I'm getting too heated. You got Del Toro.
Delta.
I'm sorry, I'm too heated. I can't pronounce, but you got Del Toro. And he's got the baby in the jar, right? And
Yeah,
then
baby
you got
tank. We even had to make a meme about that
Yeah.
within like our own group.
And
Like
then-
it's just such a.
and then you got Mads
far out
Mikkelsen,
idea.
right? Who's this like it's him in the game, right? Like I gotta mention, like if you watch these trailers, it's just them. It's not like Guillermo del Toro's playing a guy. It's him. It's his face, it's his body. Same thing with Mads Mikkelsen, right? He comes out of the sewers and he's got all these like zombie-looking U.S. soldiers, U.S. Marines, and there's like all this black stuff coming from him. Like tanks roll by and they've got like organs and stuff, and then again, like all the other trailers are just like, what is even going on? Like,
I don't know. I just
right?
feel like I'm okay with artsy stuff. I'm not saying that I can appreciate them. I think that's one of my weaknesses, right? But I'll try to, right?
Well, that's fair. The
I'll
fact that
try
you can
to.
admit that is really impressive, actually, right?
But I feel like this is way too long.
It's just too much at this point.
How can I not know what the game is about? And it's 2019.
It's just too much at this point because like even like interviews and stuff that he's done, like he has all these like when he says it, he has all these cool ideas. He's like the main thing for Death Stranding comes from this novel that he read, and it's this notion of, I believe it's the stick and the rope, right? And humanity's interactions with the stick and the rope. I'm gonna pull it up here real quick, but just the way that he says stuff like that really just kind of, for me, again, like
stick in the rope.
yeah. So here, let me bring it up before I kind of get into it.
Kojima, man, please, no
So,
more. No more.
Basically, Hideo Kojima, obviously. So it was a short story, not a novel. My mistake. It was by Kobo Abe, in and involving humanity's first tool. So Kojima, this is a quote. He says, "The stick is the first tool that mankind created to put distance between himself and bad things, to protect himself. The second tool mankind created is rope. A rope is a tool used to secure things that are important to you." And so he says, most of your tools in action games are sticks. You punch or you shoot or you kick. The communication is always through these sticks. I want people to be connected not through sticks, but through what would be the equivalent of ropes. So, again, he says these things, which, sure, in theory sound kind of cool. It's like, oh, you're trying to make like an action-oriented game, but not have the player kind of embody this role of like an action-type character or hero, right? And presumably the whole rope thing will be maybe some kind of multiplayer functionality, which, again,
Why is there a baby in a tank?
yeah, it's like, it just, none of it makes sense though. Like nothing has been shown that even relates back to this concept of sticks and ropes, because we haven't seen any gameplay. The last trailer that came out, I believe it was with the Game Awards, or perhaps a bit before that, but the trailer that came out with that, we have, I believe it was Troy Baker voicing a character, and he summons this like Jesus, like absolute Lovecraftian beast thing from like his golden mask, and it's just insanity, right? It's just, you have no idea what's going on, and then it stops there, right? You don't actually see what happens. It's
Right. Like my whole
right.
point is like, I think it is fantastic to drop hype for your game. I am
it's
all
necessary.
for it, right?
Yeah.
It's necessary. It sells the game, it gets people excited. It gets me thinking, like, oh, what's gonna happen with the game,
Yeah.
But you got to give us something. But
you gotta show us what you're buying, right? Like, I want to know what you're gonna be doing as Norman Reedus from the moment to moment gameplay, right? Like,
I'm gonna bring up like the leaks MK11, right?
okay,
When they're trying to drum up hype for, because MK11 is gonna be dropping in April, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
So they're trying to drum up hype for the new characters that are coming up, and someone spoils and leaks the whole roster. We're not going to talk about it. But, right, for instance, that just ruins the fun, I feel like, right? Like, I wanted to, like, slowly find out that, are they going to bring back, are they going to bring back that?
Yeah.
But, like, it just
Now
ruins
it's just there.
everything.
Yeah, now it's just out.
Now it's just out, right? So I understand why you want to drum up hype, it makes things more exciting. Everybody, the community loves it, right? But when you overdo it like this, right? When you wait so long, and there's still nothing. It kind of reminds me of when it comes back to like Overwatch, right? when it came to the
Yeah.
Sombra situation, right?
Yeah.
With the Skynet and everything, and they're trying to like play with the community, right? And they're like, oh wow, look at all these puzzles that we have. It's like, bro, how many months was it? It was like
It was like 3 or 4 months or
like
something
3 or 4
silly like
months. It's
that.
like, why are you teasing me this far away? Like it's not even a point.
Seriously,
It feels awful.
I just feel like at a certain point it's just too much. You know, I don't care about like all
It's
these
too much.
I don't care about all these wacky kind of things and trailers and stuff that Kojima's been saying, but I just want to see the gameplay. I want to see somebody playing the game, you know, dropping into a level or whatever kind of thing he's doing. I want to see what you do in Death Stranding. You know,
But you know what? Actually, though, you know who could take a little bit of a lesson from him, or they can learn from Kojima. Yo, DMC5, you got to stop spoiling stuff. What's going down?
Yeah.
I just picked that up. I've been actively avoiding spoilers
Yeah.
like the plague.
Yeah.
The trailers, man, they're too powerful.
They are powerful, yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff been happening. Well, today specifically, right? Again, if you're listening to this on Saturday, it's March 8th on a Friday, right? DMC's out today, DMC5.
Yes, yes.
Captain Marvel's out today, which I don't have much interest in, but I know that's gonna.
I heard it was good.
I
I heard nothing but good things from it so far.
I've heard it's either really good or really like, at least compared to the marketing and everything that was being pushed forward, like really boring. Which, I mean, listen, I'm not the best one to go for Marvel movies because I always argue that they've lost their shine, which is a very, very non-mainstream opinion. So we can save that for another week. But yeah, that's just me. But yeah, a lot of stuff today specifically.
yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Like,
It's a shame we couldn't talk about it all, but
yeah.
you know.
Well, I know Captain Marvel's out because it's International Women's Day,
True.
which makes sense. I mean, it was a big part of their marketing, and I know that's kind of the point of why it's out today. So
Yeah,
it makes sense. And
I was just under the impression when it came to Captain Marvel, like I felt like she's just gonna be like a, I know what her powers are, but like a lame Superman, right? I thought it was just gonna be like one of those films, right? But I don't know. I've heard nothing but good things about the film from my colleagues, and I thought she would maybe have a boring personality, or very flat personality, very like justice oriented, right?
yeah,
But who knows?
we'll see. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's something we can kind of save for another week because we are out of time right now. So I mean, yeah, for the time being, you know, we got as it is every week, we got YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter. Give us a check us out. You know, like, follow, subscribe, all that great stuff. And you know, thanks so much for tuning in this week.
Have a good day.
Thanks so much.